Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy New Year. How are you doing? How's everyone doing? Where's the chat? Here's the chat. How is everyone doing? जो लोग पाकिस्तान में हैं उनको नए साल की बहुत बहुत मुबारक। अल्लाह ताला हमें हमारे लिए तमाम मामलात आसान करे, ख़ास तौर पे उन लोगों के लिए जो फ़लस्तीन के अंदर मौजूद हैं, गज़ा के अंदर मौजूद हैं। बट थिंग्स असाइड, आई थिंक all we can do is to be hopeful, and we can pray that this year also brings a lot of cool things. um at least not as bad as 2023. But in any ways, how's your New Year's going? It still has about 4 hours left in Sweden before we actually get the new year. It's about 8:17 p.m. here. But type in the comments where are you from and what time is it at your place, and have you already started celebrating New Year or not? And in this stream, we are going to also look into the possibilities of web development in 2024. What can you do? Where you can start? And yeah, essentially, what can your focus be? So you can also ask questions. Feel free to ask them in the chat, of course. So let's also see here. Programming questions in the chat. Let's do that. So we'll keep this also short. I will potentially be looking into some Angular stuff and NestJS as well. Previously in the last stream, you were migrating some information from the old database to the new database, but in this one, we'll probably look into a bit of that as well. But what are your New Year's resolutions? And have you started celebrating New Year's already? So I'm gonna bring my chair back. Hmm. Let's remove that one. Let's also bring back PulseChecker from here. Hey Sheikh Mohammed Shahbaz, Happy New Year to you as well. How are you doing? Can also start the mouse highlighting one as well. Hmm. Let's also add this right here. I usually get a lot of questions when um, on Facebook, but when I ask them during live stream, I don't get any questions, or not as much questions. I mean, I get questions, but not as much. That's super weird. Let's put it right here. I think you can see me fixing things in production. Okay. Saad says mine would be to learn new things as much as I can and explore new opportunities. That sounds good. That sounds really good. I think I will also. I'm looking to focus a bit more on the Angular side of things. I mean, I focus on Angular all the time, but I do want to get into it a bit more, especially towards the schematics side. And if you want, we can also do schematics today. I have an interesting challenge that I need to do for my books viewers as well. But yeah, I'm gonna look into schematics. I'm also hoping to do a certification in AWS as well. Hopefully, I'm not sure when I'm gonna start it. Most likely towards the either second quarter or second semester or second half of the 2024. But I do want to look into AWS, as in doing stuff from scratch. I've been into multiple companies, enterprises, small scale companies as well, medium scale companies as well, but I haven't gotten a chance to actually become an expert in infrastructure scalability. I mean, theoretically, I know a lot of stuff, but not um, yeah, not in depth or not practical. So I don't think I've scaled a product to a hundred of thousands of daily active users yet. So I'll focus on that. Abdullah Malik says, what are your thoughts about Next.js? I heard it is the best framework in terms of SEO. I don't think any framework is the best framework. Every you have trade-offs. Sometimes you want X versus Y, and then you pick based on your situations. But Next.js is a really good framework of choice. Even the React team recommends on their official site that you should, if you want a production ready React.js application, you should probably look into Next.js, which is interesting. So yeah, Next.js is an interesting domain. I'm not really sure, but I mean, a lot of community members have been asking about React tutorials and also Next.js tutorials as well. So I might start looking into those in 2024 as well. But there are a lot of cool tutorials still out there. So do look into those as well. But the first thing would be just start um just start learning Next.js. And they also updated their site and added something called Next Learn with Next 14's release. So they have good content on their site. I mean, the documentation is meh, so to say, but yeah, the Next Learn thingy sounds good, or it sounded interesting at least. One thing that we usually do when we think about learning a lot of things is that we start learning a lot of things and we don't become an expert in any of those. So my recommendation usually is that you try to stick to one thing that you can become an expert in, and then you can explore other things as well, if that makes sense. What is a micro front end? Good question. Hmm. A micro front end is essentially a way for you to have a single application. Imagine an application having a header and then having a body. Your header can be its own application deployed somewhere, and then your body can be its own application deployed somewhere. You can also imagine in your body you have two different sections. Let's say one shows a calendar, another shows a mail or mailbox, and those two applications can be deployed separately in different places, but combined they show a single user experience that is called essentially micro front end. Now you can also have different micro front ends on different routes as well. For example, you can have your own application in which you have the contact page deployed as a sim you can say deployed as an app, but it's part of your main React shell, for example. So you have one shell. When we talk about micro frontends, we have two different things. We have a shell, and then we have the micro frontends. The shell is which contains everything or which binds everything. For example, if you have a route based micro frontend, which means that you have an internal routing, which essentially acts as a single page application, but then you have different micro front ends going on around that. But then you can also have one single page having different micro front ends being used there. The benefits of micro front ends is that you get to have separate deployments, separate testing. For example, you can have two different teams working on two different parts of an application, and they can be organized separately. They can have their own sprints, they can deploy separately, they can implement their tests separately. So, in terms of organizational perspective, it becomes really easy for those two teams to ship everything. And for example, if you had an app that had two different sections, two different micro front ends, if one micro front end had, let's say, an error, then the whole system does not need to be redeployed. Just only the micro front end needs to fix that issue and then redeploy, and then everything works. So this also makes it really easy um, for a lot of flexibility as well. So if you have an app that has two different micro front ends, you can imagine that if one micro front end gets, let's say, broken or the server goes down, the rest of the application is still useful. So there are a lot of things that you can research about what are micro front ends. I hope that helps. mm, Sumit Bhandari says, I have an interview on Wednesday, round 2 for Angular dev. Any tips? I would suggest to look into the angular.dev site, which is new. It has a lot of concepts that are explained in a really nice way. So that's what I would recommend. Look into angular.dev. And one thing about interviews, which I always say is, it depends on what person actually takes your interview. Most of the times, if the person is not too senior, then they will be googling questions like Angular interview questions. So you do the same. You go with Angular interview questions, and then you basically research those, try to understand those, try to make sense of those as well, and then just go to the interview. Otherwise, it's really hard to predict what an interviewer may ask, because usually the interviewers ask things about concepts that they know or they've gotten stuck into. So it's really hard to predict. But I think you can generally go through the angular.dev and then try to understand the core concepts instead of understanding everything. It's a techno managerial round. Aha. But yeah, then I mean, there are two different things then. If it's technical questions, then of course you're gonna be asked about Angular's internals. But one general tip that I usually give the people is, if you have been asked questions that relate to your behavior, your or how to explain it. If there are questions which talk about you and your past and your experience, for example, tell us about a time when you had a conflict with your colleague and how did you resolve those, or tell us about a technical project or a technical feature that you're really really proud of, or tell us about a time when you broke production, if you did, and what happened then. So those kind of questions, do be prepared for such questions that you can find on the internet as well. But when you answer those questions, you either have an answer or you don't have an answer. Don't try to beat up around the bush, because the interviewers, they usually take tons of interviews and they can easily spot, like, okay, this person is just trying to, yeah, just trying to come up with an answer, or just trying to say something that is, yeah, just stupid or doesn't make sense or is just made up. We don't want that. So when you are giving answers, try to give an example all the time, like, this is the situation that happened, this is what I did, this was the result. There's a terminology called STAR for interviewers. You can also look into that. So yeah, that would be my tip. But then also there's a really good book called Cracking the Interview something something. You can also look into that as well. I've never read it myself. So what should we do today? Should we look into PulseChecker, the product that I'm building, or should we look into Angular schematics? We might be using some chat GPT as well. Because I don't think I have found good resources for um, in-depth Angular schematics. but I have an interesting challenge to fix. So I'll probably look into it. I mean, I either Google or I'll ask the Chat GPT guy. Barsik, hey, how's it going? Happy New Year. How are you doing today? It's still gonna be 3.5 hours before it's New Year's here in Sweden. It's super cold. How are you doing, everyone? So, question: should we look into Angular schematics, or should we look into the database migration that I was doing before? I think I'm gonna be happy with either of those, to be honest. But have I migrated? No. I mean, we created the types in TypeScript that I remember. Okay, then we do need to create these as well. Imran says, "I'm good. How are you doing?" I'm good. Thank you. I'm doing well. Is Angular better than React? It depends. It's a very broad question. It's like, is Apple better than Mango? So, yeah, we don't know. Or is green apple better than the red apple? Or is an apple that is of class 1 better than class 2? I don't know. So, I prefer Angular because it's much more suitable for a bunch of reasons that React is not for. The first one is, and it's not technical, it's rather organizational strategies. For example, it's very easy for an Angular developer to switch different projects compared to a React developer, because you'll find different approaches in React projects compared to Angular projects, because Angular is very, very opinionated. You'll find yourself doing almost exactly the same thing in all Angular projects. But when it comes to React, even three members of the same team are writing completely different sort of code if there's no senior engineer in the team. So it really depends. So my personal preference is more or less Angular, because first of all, it's not a library. React is a really tiny library. As soon as you want to do anything at all, you need to install a package. You need to install for routing, you need to install for HTTP calls, you need to install something for testing. Angular essentially comes out of the box with a lot of things that make a lot of things easy. So yeah, I prefer that, and also it was TypeScript first as well. And there are a lot of cool things that are coming in Angular or Angular's core system. So I prefer that. But you can also call me biased because I'm a Google developers expert in Angular as well. So yeah, it's what I have been an expert in and what I like as well. Karthik, hey, how's it going, Karthik? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's your New Year's going? And where are you from? Where's everyone from in the chat? Which city? Which is the best backend with Angular, Python or Node? It doesn't really matter. I think it depends on the team. So when we usually ask questions, we ask as individuals on things we want to learn. But the reality is that as soon as you don't join a team, you have different constraints. For example, what is the team expert in? What does the company want in a long term strategy of which kind of developers to hire, which technologies to focus on? So it really depends on the companies who are driving those decisions. It's not me who's going to say Python is the best, Angular is the best, or Node.js is the best, or whatnot. And also the term best should be benchmarked against some things. So for example, if you compare Node.js versus Python, are you checking how many requests per second can a Node.js server versus a Python server serve? Is that what your question is? Is the question is which language is easier to learn? Is it Node.js as in JavaScript Node.js, or Python and then Django or something? So the question demands more clarity. If I have to give an answer, I can't. I don't like people who are stupid enough to just say this is the best without having a reason. So I don't usually go in this route at all. I don't give a best answer. So it depends. If you want Python, you can start with Python. If you want to stick with JavaScript, then for me, for example, if I am a developer who just wants to write JavaScript, then for me it's best to just work with Node.js because I don't have to learn Python. But if I'm concerned about more things like benchmarking, performance, um, I don't know, maybe if I want to use a machine learning model or not in my projects, then I would look for Python. So it depends. It's always depends. For web application, yeah, Hanif, it's the same thing. You can't say which one is the best. Every backend is for a web application essentially. So it's the same thing. Imran is from India, Hyderabad. Awesome. My grandmother is actually from India, Hyderabad. Karthik is from Abuhar, Punjab. Awesome. Sumit is from what sort of question could be asked to a 2 years experience dev, particularly in JavaScript? I think the core JavaScript would be, for example, what is a closure? They could also ask, if you know about event bubbling, event delegation, and I'm talking about pure JavaScript at the moment. So they could ask about that. They could also ask about, if you have worked with call or apply in JavaScript, which are used to, for example, invoke functions. They could also ask about what is an immediately invoked function. They could also ask about, I'm thinking. Yeah, they could also ask about prototypes in JavaScript, or what kind of object-oriented programming does JavaScript use, for example. What else? I mean, there are different questions, so many questions that someone can ask, so it's really hard to say. If I had to interview, then I would probably ask, things like, hey, can you tell me how can I find an element or the index of an element in an array, for example. That's what I would ask. I would also ask what kind of projects you have built in the past, what part of what piece of code you're proud of, things like that, that shows me, if you can do things, and then I would just give you some tasks to do them. What else? Yeah, I think then it goes to, if you have worked with a framework, then I would go. I mean, JavaScript is, as a language, has not a lot of things to do, because if you're experienced, like 2 years experience, and I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to ask you, what kind of loops are there in JavaScript, because I would assume you already know them. I would probably ask some more interesting questions, like, how do you maintain your code, or how do you make HTTP calls? Do you use promises versus observables? Or if you use promises, do you use async await? Have you used generators? So there can be a lot of things. Tech Insider is from Pakistan, Bahawalpur. Awesome. Good, good, good. Mohammad Rafi Khan says, you make a video for this topic. What? Can you make a videos about event loop and what you're talking about? I think I've created a lot of videos about that as well. But you can look into, you can also look into the videos that I have in here, which is JavaScript beginner series. I think it has a lot of questions like this. For example, what is a closure in JavaScript? I've discussed about this here. But I think I can create more videos when I get a chance. But I will definitely look into that. But keep reminding me, Rafe, please. Just ping me. Psst, send me a message. Like, what about those videos? And I can get back to you on this one. So we did discuss about variables, strings, blah blah blah. But I think I actually covered a lot of these in the course that I have in Urdu. I mean, we have got, or Urdu slash Hindi, but we have reached recently about 966 students. Wow, it's amazing. So I'm going to share this link in the chat in case some of you don't really know about this one or want to share with someone else. So do share this, because I think web development is pretty hot. I mean, any business that comes online needs to have a site, a website, a web application. So it's still pretty relevant. And we are also looking into adding more to the platform itself, so you can learn with not only, because we already have a lot of exercises and activities, as you can see, like how can you. I really liked one activity that was after JavaScript Advanced, like random users list application in this one. which we ended up creating a random user list with the UI, with JavaScript actually being used here, and API calls and icons. As you can see, it was pretty nice. So do look into this course. If you understand Urdu or Hindi, you can actually look into this. Smart Earning Hacks says, any DSA placement course you are planning to launch? Not at the moment, unfortunately. No. I actually got a lot, I wouldn't say stressed, but a lot consumed while working on the book, which Sumit has just asked about. So I spent about 10 months actually writing the second edition of my book, so which is NG Cookbook. If you go to ngcookbook.com, you'll find this one. And actually, we launched it 29th of December. Yay! So this one has been launched now. I think it says somewhere around here when this was launched. Pair publishing, yeah, December 29th, 2023. So this one has been launched, and I'm super happy about this one. We actually reduced the number of pages, but the content has become even better. So if I look at the number of pages for the first edition of the book, it was 652 pages for the first edition, and it's about 536 pages in the second edition. So it's actually a bit thinner, almost, or actually less than 100 pages actually. But the content is really good. So Sumit has actually asked about this one, so I can quickly explain what this is. I can actually show you with an example. I think that's much more nicer. Second edition. All right, so you need to pick a topic, and then we'll open its recipe so I can share with you like what does it look like, what does the book's content look like. So in Angular, so first of all, let me tell you what. Wait a second. All right, so since you have asked about it, I'm going to tell you what the Angular Cookbook second edition looks like. So first of all, it has over 80 actionable recipes, which means that you have 80 problems, and each problem starts with a problem statement. So you have an app that has a problem, and then you solve that by following a recipe. So you have steps like first do this, then do this, then do this in this file, and once you are done with all of those steps, you end up in the final state, which is problem solved, which is the recipe done. For example, we have different sort of topics here. So we have component communication, in which we talk about inputs, outputs, we talk about behavior subjects, which is RxJS. We also talk about the new Angular signals, which were just released in November this year. Then we also talk about directives, the new control flow. We have dependency injection, we have Angular animations, we have NGRX, Angular navigation and routing, we have forms. And there were some really interesting challenges about forms as well. We have the template driven forms, reactive forms, form arrays, so many cool things. This one is really cool, the Angular component development kit, in which you can actually create your own sort of library or your own sort of component, just like Bootstrap or Angular Material or whatnot, using the Angular CDK. And Angular Material itself is based on the Angular CDK itself. Then we also talk about unit tests. Unit tests are really valuable in large scale companies or enterprises especially, but then also now a lot of sort of small scale applications, or not small scale application, but companies or startups are actually focusing on those as well. So unit tests, end-to-end tests, we cover both of them with Angular in the book. We also talk about how to optimize the performance in your Angular application, what are the strategies to use, and then also building progressive web apps with Angular. So pick one of those. Which one do you think I should show you right now as an example? Because we have a lot of topics in those, but I'm going to pick one of those. But pick which chapter should we look into. Are you interested in looking into forms? Are you interested in looking into testing? Are you interested in looking into end-to-end testing with Cypress, which is a really interesting topic, really good skill set to have? Or are you interested in looking into progressive web apps with Angular? And progressive web apps, if you don't really know, are applications that look like desktop application, but are actually web applications that you can install in your PC, in your Windows machine, in your Mac OS, Actually, you can also have them as a home icon in your Android or iOS as well. So pick one. Pick one of these while I answer the rest of the question. And let me highlight these for you. So pick a chapter number. Which chapter? And I'm answering the other questions. Imran says, Asan, do you suggest to take your course to someone who is dumb in studies in their 10 plus 2 now and wants to learn web development? Yeah, I think if anyone who has done matriculation or their 10th standard or even like 8 or 9 standards and they start looking into the web development course that I just showed, I think you're going to learn a lot. Yeah. So this course basically starts from scratch. So you don't really need to have any background at all for this one. You just need to know Urdu and Hindi, and then it starts from everything like installing VS Code, installing the software, and then it takes it from there. I'm going to put the chapters here again. So chapter 13 has one vote. What else do we want to see? Do we want to see animations? Do we want to see the CDK, the component dev kits, which is really, really interesting as well? Hanif says, what are your thoughts about AI in 2024? I think it's interesting how AI is evolving. I think we should spend at least some time experimenting it, if not completely switching to AI. So because there are a lot of applications that could be done nicely. So it really depends. But I think it's really cool how AI tools. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have right now, which a lot of companies are trying to solve, is how to make it possible for non-programmers to do AI. Because right now you still need to have a model, you still need to have to train it. There are a lot of things. For example, ChatGPT is a really good example of how to consume AI without being a programmer. But we don't have yet a good possibility or a platform where we can train our own models and they could work. So I'm excited about Gemini or Gemini Mini, which is supposed to run on the devices. So in 2024, I think if we can have machine learning models which can run on the mobile phones themselves, then it's going to be a big win. So I'm hoping that Google launches, because Google owns Gemini, then they do something about that, and that's going to be fun. Imran says PWA's Tech Insider says chapter 5, which is RxJS. Sumit also says RxJS. Okay, so we'll look into this then, because we have 2 votes, but we'll also look into PWAs as well if the time permits. But before that, I just want to see Rafi's comment, which is right here. Rafi says, I'm working as a MERN and Laravel dev, but I want to deep dive in JavaScript, but I can't find video about this and I don't know where to start. Rafi, look into the course that I just shared. You can look into both the JavaScript normal or sort of basic knowledge, which is all of this, like syntax, variables, comments, operators, functions, everything that you need to know about JavaScript core can be found here. Almost everything. I mean, I can't cover everything, but almost everything. How to debug JavaScript, blah blah blah, and then JavaScript Advanced also has callbacks, promises, async await, blah blah blah. So you can look into this. I'm gonna share the link in the chat with Rafe. Now let's have a look at the RxJS thingy. So we'll start from there, right? Let's see. Let me pull the latest code. I hope I have everything up to date. That is yeah, that's the new stuff that I have. So if I look into my, let's quickly do an npm install, and let's have a look at the RxJS recipes. So we look into start apps chapter 5. So we do have a custom RxJS operator. We also have multiple streams, how to work with them. I think this one is a really cool demo. We do have retry HTTP calls as well. That's a really good one. I mean, I love all of them because I built them. But I think the retry one is a really good one, and the multiple streams is a really good one. So we'll look into one of those. Let's start with the multiple streams. So I'm going to actually show you how it looks like when we start versus when we finish. So I'm going to quickly start running the npm run serve rx multiple streams. And by the way, whoever actually gets the book also gets the code as well. So you can actually look into the starting state, but you can also look in the final state as well. So final apps, chapter 5, RX multiple streams has the final code of the same thing. Alrighty, let's have a look. Da, da, da. I'm running 2 different processes. That's why it's crying at the moment. Come on, come on. All right. So this is the task of this recipe. We have a box that has some colors. I can change the styles, but only after clicking. For example, if I click this, now the background color should change. The text color should also be changed. For example, become this, but you can see that there's no change right here. And if I click change styles now, you can see now it changed, right? That is essentially the app that we have right now. You can also see that the color changes as well. So you can see the color changes. Same goes with border radius. If I change this to 16, nothing happens until I click this button, right? And then also you can increase the size, decrease the size, and everything works nicely. But the recipe that I have is sometimes you have inputs and you don't want actually a button right there before something happens. For example, if you have a 3D model that is being rendered right here, and then you had a bunch of inputs right here, and you just wanted to change or re-render whenever any of the inputs change, that is a really good use case for subscribing or listening to multiple observables in this case. So what would happen, or how can I do it, that if I change any of these inputs and give them a new value without clicking a button, this changes? That is essentially the whole recipe. So I'm not gonna show you the recipe or follow the recipe, but I'm going to show you the end result of this essentially. So we just had a look at the starting state. I'm gonna run the same thing, but with the final command, so it runs the final recipe for us. So let's have that built. And then I can show you how it looks towards the end. And in the meantime, I'm also gonna start running the other one, the retry one. So let's see. npm run serve, and this one should actually be chapter 5. It's called retry http calls. So this one. So let's run that as well. Now this one is the final state of it. You can see there's no button at the moment, but as soon as I change anything, like change the color, you can see automatically the text and everything changes. And that is why I'm actually running a stream, or I'm listening to multiple streams at the same time, which allows us to do things like this. So as soon as any of the inputs change, automatically the border radius, for example, changes to 24. You can see that it's changing right here and here, and all the inputs do the same thing. And essentially, if I go to, I think it's in the app.component.ts, is it there? No, it's inside the home component TS. That's the one. So I'm actually listening to all the controls that I have, and I'm using the combine latest to do the same thing. So I'm combining all of the streams, and if any of those change, we return, or we change the width, size, border radius, and whatnot, and then we basically bind that to the input. So if I use async here, you should be able to see it right here. So as I said, I'm not going deep into how to follow the recipe because you can get that from the book instead of me explaining it. But this allows us to avoid having to click something and having always this stream or observable stream from all of these inputs. And you can now add like 20 more inputs to it, and it's going to be fine. It's going to listen to all of those inputs, and then it's going to basically react on if anything changes at all in any of those, which is super, super, super cool. Okay. Is that good? Can I get a thumbs up in the chat if that was understandable? And then we are going to start looking into the next recipe. Oh, this one has to be started with server. I also have a fake server as well with server. Norval crystals. Thumbs up. Thank you. So this one essentially looks like this. So if I have a backend running and if some of my APIs fail, what I don't want to do is in your applications, you'll face a lot of situations like this one where you want to, sorry, give me 1 second before I lose my train of thought. So npm run serve this final. So a lot of times what happens is that you want a good user experience in your UI. And what happens is if you are saying, hey, when an API call fails for me, I want to at least retry it a few times. That's what we are going to look into in this particular recipe. We're not going to look into recipe, but the start and the final stage of this. So this is the API call. So if I just filter with XHR, you can see that this is a bad request that doesn't exist. So what happens is the response essentially is not there. So if I refresh this, you can see there's a bad request. This is the response that says status code, bad request, blah, blah, blah. But what I want to do is imagine that this was a real call, but my server got down for some reason, or there was a network issue, or there could be multiple things like, and you want to retry at least a number of times before everything goes bad. This is where we can use the recipe in the Angular Cookbook that I have. This nice little book that we just published on 29th of December, a few days ago. And when we do so, you look into it that if I go to network, it will retry the calls before finally showing a message. So if I refresh, you can see 1, 2, 3 requests, 4 requests. It makes the first call and then it requests 3 more times before it finalizes everything. So if I refresh now, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 requests, as you can see. In this particular example, we actually look into this thing called, if I show you what we are looking at is this. We do have an operator called retry backoff. And essentially what this looks at is it retries the whole process a bunch of times before it times out it. Because we also want to say, all right, try to make these calls 3 times, but don't do the whole process for more than 30 seconds. For example, if I try it once, the server takes 20 seconds to respond and my user is just waiting for the response, which is really weird. So we don't want that experience. So we have via this recipe and yeah, the operator, we have the possibility of saying try X number of times, but then the whole timeout of this process should be this, which is really good because now I'm not saying fail on the very first try. I'm retrying to do it. This is really, really powerful for cases like, for example, Google Docs, people typing some stuff and now you need to keep sending the updates. And what happens if the updates fail? Then obviously you need to retry it a couple of times as well. So it's a really good strategy for not so small scale application, but a large scale one. So if you understand this, also gives a thumbs up in the chat. And then we'll also look into a progressive web app thingy. So we'll look into one final recipe from the Angular Cookbook, and that is going to be of a progressive web app. Maybe let's try looking into the custom installation. I really like this one, custom installation one. I do remember that there is supposed to be a different command to run this one. If I think it correctly, it's going to be npm run serve static, and then it's ng pwa cust installation. App name not provided, but this was, oh, custom installation, and I think it also should be 13, and then also it should be the port, let's say 6500. I think that's what the command is, but we will see. Okay, so it start dist apps. Okay, so I gave the wrong name for chapter 13. Chapter 13, my bad. Let's see. Cool. So this is an application which handles a very specific use case. First of all, this application is installable. For example, if I click here, you can see it says install app. Oh, you don't see it because it's covering my chat. Now you should be able to see it. So if I click this button here, it says install app. If I install it, I can actually run this application from my machine whenever I want, even without having to open a browser. So if I install this, you can see now this is actually an app that has its own maximize, minimize. I can actually bring this into a new desktop. I can also move this around as well. I can minimize this. You can at the bottom right here see its own icon. It's not Chrome anymore, it's my app. So I can actually build web applications as progressive web apps which can be installed into the machine. So if I close this, I can actually search it right here. So ng pwa, and you can see I can find it right here. So this is an application installed in my machine. If I click this, boom, you can see it opened right away, right? So this is super cool. In this application, we try to give a custom installation prompt as well. Right now, this is installed automatically. If I close this, uninstall it, and also delete the data, it goes away, right? If I refresh now, you can see now I can install it via this one. But sometimes you don't really want the user to wait before actually, or you don't want the user to actually click here and then do all of this, because the user may or may not do it. You might want you to prompt your user yourself when the user has done something really good. For example, this is a game that I built for this recipe, and all of the recipes have really cool applications like this one. For example, here I can say Ahsan, and now I have to guess the value of the die. If I click 2, no, not really lucky. 3, no, now it's 2. What the hell? 4, no. 5, 3, come on. So close. 6, no. 1, 4, please, no. Okay, let's see if I can get this one right. It's all chance based. Oh no. 3. Yay, let's go. So you rock Ahsan, you got 50 points. Now this is a moment where you might want your user to install the application as a progressive web app, so they can use it like a native application. Now, since I have won something as a user, I've got the correct answer, I might be okay with installing instead of when I don't get the correct answer. Because then if I'm using the application and I'm trying to guess a number and then it's not correct, and then you are saying install the application, I would be really pissed. So that's what we don't want. So in this particular case, you can show a custom prompt here when the user has actually gotten this answer right. This is what we do in this particular application. So what I'm gonna show you now is, I'm gonna first double check if I do this with the final as well. So serve static is this one. Do I use final here? Yeah, I do use final. And this is the 4th argument. So this one is final. And then we have the port. Cool. Oh, do we have it running still? No? Yes. This one says 4092. Permission denied final. What? Why? Let's see. So this runs serve static. build. Okay, let's have a look. So in this case, I don't need this one. I need 6500 and final. I should have used parameterized one, which I did not, which is weird. Okay, so this time, this is an application that is running still on the same port, and I can install it, but I want my user to install it later on. So what I can do here is I can give my name, click next, and now once I've actually correctly answered or correctly guessed a number, then I'll be shown the custom prompt. So let's see if I can get it right. No. 6 maybe? No. 4. Give me the right answer. Come on. 1. Yay! So when you get this one right, then you are supposed to get the prompt. But I don't think this has done the final one. So let me run this correctly. So npm run build. This is called what was the name again? Let's see. So apps chapter 13, and it's called ngpwa cust installation, and this is final. Okay, so we ran this one. Now we can run npx http server final apps. No, it should be final dist apps chapter 13 ngpwa custom installation. This is the app. All right, let's have a look. Open. Thank you. Oops, what happened? Localhost 8080. Okay, so this is the one. So I'm gonna write Ahsan. Next, 3, be the one. Come on. No. 4, 2, 3, 6. I should have put a programming check which always results if I'm running this on localhost. It's really tough. Look at that. I guessed 4 2 times and I got 6 2 times. That's stupid. There we go. So now that I've got this one right, you can see it automatically showed me this thing right here. Love the dice game, install it. This is a programmatic sort of banner that I've shown within the application in the browser. Now this is not PWA yet. This is still running in my Chrome browser or Safari or whatever you want to use, but this is inside my browser. But here I can prompt the users to actually download or install the application. And as soon as they click it, install it, you can see now the prompt came here. So the users don't really know most of the times that they can click here and then install the application, but you in your particular web application can show this. And then once you have shown that, then they can essentially install it. And then also we made sure that once you have installed this, and then if you give the right answer, you're actually not showing this again. So that's also pretty nice. And you can see that it actually continues from the state where you left your application from, which is amazing, right? So in this case, I can actually go to the leaderboard. I can see all the information there as well. So can I get some thumbs up if you think this is cool? I'm gonna change the battery of my camera. That also shows we have been here for about an hour. Awesome. There's so many cool things as well. I mean, even in performance, they are so many cool examples that when I was working on them, I was like, okay, this has to go in the book. For example, what I really liked was, I think it was the deferred one is a really cool one. The deferred one is really good, which is recently introduced in Angular. But then we also have, I think we also had the, was it on push, or I think it was either on push or web workers, either of those, because we talk about web workers, we talk about track by as well. But I'm going to show you the deferred one. This is one of the recent ones that I implemented. It was really really cool. So npm run serve, and it's called ng-perf deferred. I might even not remember both of them, but I'll still show you. And one of the things that I have to do right now for the book also, I'm going to show you in just a bit. Give me a second. Arbab, hey, happy new year. How are you doing, Arbab? You good? Wait, what happened? Unterminated lateral sting. You. What the heck are you talking about? Ah, okay. It's probably because of npm. Probably because of npmi. Peer deps. Let me install every the packages, and then I can also show you something. Just checking my post install as well. So I'm going into here and running legacy peer deps here and then there as well. Yeah, it seems good to me. There we go. Let's run both of them. Why does this not run for this one? Fort Awesome. Is this going to be a problem? Because final has 0.14.0, but then we also have a start that has 14.0 as well. But then why does it not work? Okay, let's fix this. So I'm gonna go to cd start npm or rmrf node modules. We're also gonna run npm I and see if everything looks good. I'm gonna stop the server. And I'm wondering if I'm facing this issue, maybe the readers will also, but let's have a look in just a bit. No thanks. Thank you. All right, let's see. I think I will first run the normal one, and then I'll show you the next one as well. Let's see if both of them work fine. Because I did make sure that both of the final and start are okay, and nobody else is getting those errors. But let's see. But Bob, how is your New Year's going on? Are you excited about 2024? Serve ng. What was the name of the app that we just saw? What is deferred? Perf deferred. npm run serve. It should be run from outside. Let's see if this runs. Ah, that's why. Okay, so the installation is still running on. I'll wait. I'll wait and I'll also sit. Okay, so let's run this again. Okay, so this seems to be working. I'm also gonna run this one for the final one as well. So definitely some issue with the node modules being not nice. Okay, this is 4201 and this is 4200. So I'm going to show you a couple of things with the deferred one, and this is the recipe that I like. I think this is one of my favorite recipes. So we're just going to look into JavaScript, right? So if I refresh the page, you're going to see that we load this one ngperf, and so far we have about 4.4 megabytes of JavaScript downloaded. I'm also gonna hide this so you can see that. So 4.4, you can see right here, megabytes of JavaScript, and this is not production at the moment. When I scroll down, only then we'll also load more components, which is lazily loading components. So right now, if I go down, first of all, look at this. This is 1.2 megabytes, but at the start, you load everything. So if I go down, this is already loaded. No JavaScript is being loaded anymore. See, no change. This is also loaded, and it is 1.2 megabytes of JavaScript file for this whole page, everything. When we go here, after the recipe, filter by JavaScript, and now if I go to network and refresh, first of all, look at the size of this. It's 13.1 kilobyte, from 1.2 megabyte to 13.1 kilobytes. That's the drastic change that we have, which means this is much, much faster. The whole JavaScript bundle reduced to 3.3 megabytes from 4.4 to 3.3, which is really, really cool. Hey Saruman, hey, how's it going? I'm good, bro. How are you? And this is crazy. Now if I scroll down, only then we will load more components, which means more JavaScript. But so far, this is the only component that we have loaded. If I scroll down, you'll see something interesting. There you go. You saw there was nothing, and instantly now we loaded another 8.13 kilobytes of JavaScript, which is this one. And if we have a look at this, this is essentially containing all this drag and drop stuff. So here you see file component. You'll also see, I think, folder component as well. Yeah, there you see. So folder component definition was, so this was in this file. The home component only contained the Star Wars character, which you can find, I think, Star Wars. Is it this file? Yeah. No. It's this one. Star Wars. Or is it home? Ah, it's home component. So home component itself. So yeah, the home component essentially is in the first file. Then we load the drag and drop. And then if I load a bit more down, you'll find more things. But before that, I'm going to also show you the drag and drop implementation as well. And this is also one of the recipes. Super, super cool recipes. So if I want, I can actually drag all of this and look at this really nice preview. One of the recipes in the Angular Cookbook, which is in the chapter CDK, also helps you build this drag and drop yourself, which is also super, super cool. So you can actually move in this, and now you see we have just 2 left. But if you go to community, we've got company here. I can move it from here to leisure, and now the company txt is here. I can drop them down. I can move Netflix payments to this one. I can move company to this, his, and now we don't have anything in leisure itself, but this has got a bunch of these as well. This is cool, but I'm going to show you the next component, which is going to be lazily loaded. So the user doesn't have to download all the files. They just have to download what's required or what they're looking at the moment, which is super cool with this new Angular deferred feature. So if I scroll a bit down, you'll see, I'm going to clean this for you. And you see now we downloaded more JavaScript. for this component, the user one. I showed something too soon. Let me show you one more time. I actually showed something that I should not have shown. But look at this. So we downloaded one. We scroll down. We're gonna download one more at the moment. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So 335 KB of this users list thingy, which contains the users card component, which you see right here. I'm not gonna mouse over at the moment. But not only this, which we have downloaded on scroll, we also have one more component which is going to be lazily downloaded, and that is when I mouse over one of the cards. So if the user has not mouse overed or hovered any of the cards, I don't even need to download that JavaScript because the user has not done it. So I can also save users data or network cost to only download the component shown on hover when the user actually hovers it, and that is possible because of the new feature that came into Angular version 17, the deferred loading. So now if I clear this, you're gonna see that if I mouse over, we'll download more JavaScript on the fly, lazily loaded, and that shows the component. So if I mouse over, you can see this is the component that comes downloaded, lazily loaded, 5.3 kilobytes, and this contains user card bag component, which is lazily loaded, as I said. So this only comes once. Now if I go to other ones, yeah, it's not going to bother because it's the same component, so it has the same definition. But yeah, this is really cool. So we can actually cut down the initial load of JavaScript, which is really costly if you have a huge bundle. It takes a lot of time. If the user has not so good internet, then it also costs that as well. Bad experience, nobody likes that. So this is really cool. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show. The deferred loading recipe, when I was working on this one, I was super happy because yeah, I could show this in a really nice way where we are downloading a lot of stuff lazily, but not just on scrolling, but also on user interaction like hover. So can I get a few thumbs ups if you liked what you saw? And if you want to get the Angular Cookbook, you're gonna go to ngcookbook.com or ng-cookbook.com, and then you can go directly to the site for the second edition, which is uploaded just now, or which got published on December the 29th. So this is available now for you to get. For those of you who are in Pakistan, you probably will not be able to get this, but you will be able to still get the ebook or the PDF, so to say, or the e-copy for this one. But yeah, it is. These are just, I mean, today I've just shown you 3 or 4 recipes, but as I said, it has 80 recipes. So you can imagine like the amount of work put into this and then amount of knowledge you can get from the book itself. It's crazy. It's amazing. Alrighty. One of the things that I have to do, I'm not really sure if I'm going to do it on the stream or not, is that these actually right here, there, this header, as you see, it has an information button there. When you click it, it actually takes you to this page where I thank people for buying the Angular Cookbook. But now Angular has a different logo, so it has changed, and I have to change this into all the recipes, all the 80 plus projects. I need to go and change the logo. So, and not just the logo, I also need to change that to a generic component. So when I actually change the component itself from a library, everything changes. So I need to do that. So in order to do that, I'm going to write a script, a JavaScript script, or an Angular schematic that essentially goes into each project, and then it modifies the header component to change to what I want to use. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to do it on stream or off stream, but I'm hoping that I can actually create a tutorial out of it. For example, this is the component that I want to replace it with. Instead of having a whole hard-coded HTML header, I want to use this component called ngCBI header and then giving the app title and the app name. This is what I want to do. So we'll look into it when the time comes, but I'm super excited for this. Sumit says, why do we need to ask for cookies from the user? Good question. Because sometimes you need to put some information in the UI or in the app itself. Sometimes you need to store settings. For example, if I had a theme that I could choose, then as a user, whenever I open this application, I need to see the same theme. Let's say the application supports 5 different themes. I want to use the purple one. If I don't save it anywhere, then I cannot really see it purple again when I close the tab, shut down my computer, and open it again. So cookies is one of the ways that companies usually store information in the browser so they can access it as well, especially on the back end. So it really depends on what kind of cookie it is, and then also what the intentions are. But cookies, one of the major usage of cookies is for user preferences, and then others are also for certain information that can be stored as well. So that's that. All right, I can see that we have been live for about 1 hour. So I'm gonna cut this short. I'm actually gonna take a break, and then we'll see when I come online next. But for those of you who have joined this stream today, thank you so much. Have a good one. Have a great new year. Also, good luck for 2024 as well. Arbab says, sir, how can I display my work as a backend developer? Like how to create portfolio for backend? Look into this thing called Rapid API. It essentially is a platform where you can also sell your APIs as well. So if you're a backend developer and you want to sell your API, you have a server running already. For example, you have created a I don't know, let's say you're getting the score of actively running football matches and you're distributing those via an API. Let's say if that's your API and people use it, then you can actually earn money from it via this platform. So you can publish your APIs and then you can essentially sell them. And this can also be your portfolio. So you can go to companies and say, all right, I have these APIs that I've created as a backend developer, and then I can use them. Now you need to also have, I mean, if you can also do stuff like, I don't know if I have Sigma, Emer. Is that the app? No. Let's see if I can find it. Log in via GitHub. I don't know if I have it on Sigma Memer or are these all my sites? Did I buy sigmamemer.com? I hope not. Did I? Okay, I did not. Because I think I had this on Heroku, maybe. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna find the Sigma thingy. Yeah, I do have it here. Yeah, there you go. So this is a site, for example, that I built, and I can go here and then create a meme, for example. I don't know. Let's say if I try to find Trump, for example, here. Let's say I can write me showing my JavaScript knowledge after 10 years of experience. Let's say this is a meme that I'm creating, right? If I generate this, maybe my server is down or dead. We'll see. Abdul Rahman Ujjan, Assalamu alaikum. कैसे हैं हसन भाई? Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you? क्या हालात हैं? So click to download your meme. The download was created. If I click this, I can see the meme, me showing my JavaScript knowledge after 10 years of experience. Hey! So this is an app that I created, but the main magic here is the API. So I'm using an API and I have a backend that actually creates this meme. So you can also create a similar API that exposes, some endpoints and does something, and then you can build a simple UI. Just use ChatGPT, for example, to create the template, and then you can show that as well, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can do all of that, right? Super cool. Awesome. Was this nice? Was this something you've seen before as well? If not, you can try out the Sigma Memer. I'm pretty sure I bought the sigmamemer.com. If I haven't, then yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, this was also one of the fun projects. And if you want to learn how to build this, I actually created a tutorial for you. I think it's called something like, yeah, this is the video in which we created this whole application, Sigma Memer thingy. Yeah, I have a bunch of interesting projects. I have this one. I've also had josephinesays.com, which is about one of my colleagues from the past and the interesting things that she says. And someone actually takes a note of all of those. So this was a really simple application as well. I also have the appflashback.com as well as a portfolio project, which is this one. Should we play a game before I go? Because this is also a game that I built during a hackathon. Should we play a game? So if you go to appflashback.com and then you click let's go, you can actually change your name right here. So by default, I think it says player something something, but if you just change it to your name and click update, then you can see your name being updated right here. Once you're done with that, I'm going to give you a link in the chat that you can actually click and join the game. So I'm going to give you this. If I click this, oops, where did my lobby go? So that is the link. Can we see its code? I bet they will be able to learn as a newbie. Yeah, I shared the video as well. Do you mean the flashback one, or which code are we talking about? The flashback or Sigma Memer or Josephine says? Because I talked about a lot of those. I think all of them are almost. I think Josephine says is probably private. Yeah, that one is private. You can't see that one, but you can see flashback. Yeah, this one is public. Sigma Memer is also public. I'm gonna share the link with you. But I've also shared the link of the flashback game. So when you click this, you should be able to see your name right here. I don't know what happened to the images. That's interesting. What happened to the images? Ah, you're using an outdated API endpoint. See this. Ah, okay. So I need to change that, but we'll do that later. That's fine. But if anyone else wants to join the game right now, this is the link. I'm sharing that in the chat again. Here, you can see it. When you click it, you should be able to join as well. We'll start the game in about 10 seconds. And this is a memory based game. So you will see a bunch of cards and you need to match the card. So you get 2 clicks. So you click one card and then you click another card, and both of them should be the same. If you can click the same ones simultaneously, then you get some points. If you don't click the same ones or similar cards, then the cards are flipped back. So you don't really remember. So it's sort of a memory game that you need to memorize where the cards are. Okay, so I think that's 10 seconds. So I'm gonna start now. So we'll start it in 3, 2, 1. Good luck. All right, let's see. Not the same. These are the same. This one and this one and this one and this one. Ooh, no. Which one was no? Okay, no. Come on. There we go. Awesome. So you can have a maximum of 35 score, and then the scores from the others are coming in as well in real time. So you can see 15, 35, 10. So Ujan, too slow. Arbab, good try. Good try. But this scoreboard right here is persistent. So this is saved into a Mongo database. So this is gonna be there for life. So now I can always show you your score when you played this against me. But the code for this as well is public. Let's play again. Okay, let's do one more. So I'm gonna go to home. Let me give you one more game link. All right, there you go. Okay, we've got Imran as well. Arbab, we are waiting for you. We also got Sam. Welcome, Sam. Should we start? Or Arbab, we are waiting for you. Or are you in already? With a different name, maybe. Hmm. Shall I refresh and see if everyone is here? No. Because if someone joins, then this adds them on real time. So I don't, yeah, we don't need to refresh. So Arbab, you joining or should we start? I don't think so. Arbab Maiman seemed a different name, and I also saw our Imran on YouTube. So I think they're different people. All right, so we'll start in 10 seconds because I also have to leave as well. Well, I'll grab a quick glass of water. Give me a few seconds. All right, let's start. So it's starting in 3, 2, 1. Good luck. That one was this one. You need to change. Sorry, I need to focus on the game. Oh no. This was cake. This was cake. No, this one and this one, this one and this one. Nope. There we go. Still showing the old scorecard. You should have opened a new tab. Ujan, good try. Imran Ali, what? Okay, you got one right. That's good. I've had a really good experience. So we'll do it one more time. In this one, I'm not gonna participate. So you can participate. Okay? So I'm gonna just start the game, and then you can whoop whoop copy link address. So open a new tab and then click this. Here's the link above. So I'm gonna just wait for you, and I'll let you folks play because I think I've gotten good at it. I want to still see how you do it. All right, Ujan is here. And there's no shame, so to say. So it's just for fun. Imran is here. Arbab, you need to click or you need to open a new tab, and then you should be in. Or you can go to the home page, and then you can also type in the game ID as well. So here is the game ID. Cool. So we'll start in 10 seconds. What is the game ID? I just shared in the chat. Let's see if you get it. All right, we'll wait a few seconds for Arbab to join as well. If you go to the home page, you should be able to join it via the game ID. So if you go here, let's go game ID, which is what I just copied and gave you. I'm gonna try it myself as well. So without the space, and if you join it, yeah, you should be able to see. Cool, I see you as well. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Give me 1 second. All right, let's do this. Good luck. I will try to be slow this time. No, this one. Oop. Okay. Oh, there we go. Imran Ali and Arbab Mehmet. Look at that. Awesome. Sam, what's going on, man? You need to bring up the game. I'm just kidding. It's awesome. Thank you so much for participating as well. And you also have the scoreboard, so you can always link to this. And if I open this, for example, in a new scoreboard, or I think even if I open this in an incognito window, I think it's still gonna open that as well. Will it? Yeah, there we go. Just the images are broken, but we'll fix that. That's fine. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone. This was nice. Harpap says well played. Thank you. I've had my practice. Well, thank you everyone who joined. Happy New Year, and also all the best with whatever is coming your way. Stay safe, stay happy, and just don't stress. Don't do too much. And I'll see you around in the next stream. Thank you. Have a good one. Allah Hafiz.